I?
Yes.
Well, good morning. As co-pen holders in Afghanistan, we welcome the unanimous adoption of Resolution 2678, renewing the mandate of the United Nations Assistance Mission in Afghanistan, UNAMA, for 1 year, and Resolution 2679, establishing an independent assessment. I will address the resolution on the UNAMA mandate, and Lana will explain the resolution on the independent assessment. For the mandate renewal, the Security Council expressed its strong support for UNAMA in the midst of enormous challenges confronting Afghanistan and its people, including the dire humanitarian and economic situation, the persistent threat of terrorism, and above all, the deprivation of opportunities for women and girls in education and employment. The UN's engagement with the Taliban through UNAMA is more crucial than ever. Under the extended mandate, UNAMA will continue its engagement with all stakeholders toward peace and stability in Afghanistan. All of the mandate components are crucial for addressing the complex challenges. UNAMA will keep coordinating and facilitating humanitarian and basic human needs assistance for those in dire need. UNAMA will continue working to protect and promote human rights, including for women and children, including through monitoring and reporting. Promoting inclusive political dialogue is yet another essential element in the mandate. We expect UNAMA to continue to exercise its irreplaceable role and a renewed and robust mandate at this critical time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Kimihiro. And in addition to the UNAMA mandate renewal, as you will have observed, the Council also voted unanimously to request that the Secretary General launch an independent assessment on the international approach to Afghanistan. The idea behind that is to provide recommendations on how to ensure greater coherence and integration between the efforts of all the relevant actors inside and outside the UN system on Afghanistan. Since the December edicts, which further restricted the rights of Afghan women and girls, we've consistently heard from many stakeholders, including many Afghan women throughout the CSW, that the international community lacks a coordinated international political strategy for the country, and that this is what continues to undermine our efforts. More broadly, and as I described in the Council this morning, Afghanistan has been on an extremely alarming trajectory since August 2021. So our hope is that the assessment will offer credible suggestions as to how the various relevant international and regional actors can coalesce around a shared vision for the country and how we can advance that vision in the Security Council. With Afghanistan at a critical juncture, it was important that the Council renew UNAMA's mandate for another year, while at the same time examine additional ways to contribute to a stable, secure, and prosperous Afghanistan, and an inclusive one. We're all aware that the situation in Afghanistan is extremely challenging, and that our options are actually very limited, but the status quo is not sustainable. So by requesting this independent assessment, the Council is taking a careful and measured response to a difficult crisis with outside expertise and fresh thinking, and essentially saying that a business-as-usual approach is not sufficient to Afghanistan. And I think that was the main message coming out of the Council today. You will have seen that it was a unanimous message from the Security Council in these difficult times. So I think that's a strong message to Afghanistan and to its people, and especially to its women and girls, that the Security Council will not abandon their attention and their focus on them. Before we take any questions, I do want to, on behalf of Ambassador Kimi and myself, acknowledge in this press takeout and abuse your time here that this would have been impossible without the extraordinary efforts of both the diplomats of the Japanese and UAE missions, as well as the constructive engagements of every single Council member. So I'd like to thank the Japanese and the UAE teams who are standing here and watching this. Thank you.
How will the experts be chosen, and what's required to do this job?
So the choice of the team, of the independent assessment, is the prerogative of the Secretary General. So it will be the Secretary General and his team that appoint the independent panel of experts. We have noted that in previous practice since 2019, there have been at least 20 such assessments. Since 2017, actually. There have been 20 such assessments in different contexts around the world. They're usually put together for a variety of different reasons, but I think they can offer a really useful tool in addressing a complex challenge on the ground. The point here is that this is an extraordinary set of circumstances in Afghanistan today, and we needed an extraordinary response from the Council. So I hope this contributes to that effort. James, please.
Ambassador, the fact you're calling, I know you said it's been done before, but the fact you're calling for these independent experts, does that mean the Security Council and the UN Secretariat have run out of their own ideas?
Well, James, I'm sure you find the Council debates hugely original in thinking and ideas. No, I think this is actually an idea that the genesis of which was in the Council. So the Council has looked at previous practice and drawn up something that is based on precedent and applied it to a complex set of circumstances in Afghanistan. And we hope that the ideas that are brought forward from the independent assessment will help bolster Council thinking and the thinking of the international community around an international strategy. But we all need to coalesce, and I think today we've shown that we can coalesce on such a difficult challenge.
Well, actually, the Security Council members have, one concern in common. That is, things in Afghanistan is not going, for the better. It's going from bad to worse. The concern is all shared by 15 member states. But when it comes to what we need to do on the ground, there are, nuance of, thoughts and so forth. So there is a heated discussion among closed, consultation and so forth. Maybe we need to sit back a little bit and listen to the, the independent panel assessment so that we can have more constructive consultations. That's the idea.
Mrs. Ambassador, thank you for this briefing. You said that the civil rights activists, the civil activists from Afghanistan asked you for this during CSW. They also asked you for more sanction on Taliban. Do you think you're going to meet that request as well in the future?
I think they didn't ask specifically for an assessment, but they did ask for the international community to remain focused on Afghanistan and to start coordinating better on a forward-looking international strategy for Afghanistan. So I just didn't want to misrepresent what they asked for. On the sanctions, as you know, it's a different set of issues, but I do know that for the Security Council, we have a limited set of tools in our toolkit. And Ambassador Kimihiro and I are committed as penholders on Afghanistan to looking at all of our tools at all times to make sure that we help Afghanistan get on the right path to stability and prosperity. I think the OIC has an important role to play here as well, and of course regional countries. And of course the Council is one piece of a much bigger picture, and that picture involves the United Nations, the leadership of the Secretary General and the Deputy Secretary General, the head of the Executive Director of UN Women, as well as other international stakeholders on the ground. So I think we all need to coalesce around a forward-looking strategy, and that's what we hope to be pushing the UN system to produce for our consideration through this independent assessment.
Thanks very much. I wanted to ask you about the Taliban's main ask. When Amina Mohammed visited, they want recognition by the UN, including credentials. What is your position on that?
I think, obviously the Credentials Committee is tasked with all matters related to recognition. I think that what is important is that we have a sense of the direction that we all need to travel for Afghanistan to achieve those objectives that I just mentioned: prosperity, stability, stabilization of the economy, support for its security, etc. And I think all of those need to coalesce together, and we need to look at all of the recommendations that come in the coming year and make that decision collectively as an international community. It's definitely not something that is being discussed today. But I think we do need to look at the bigger picture of Afghanistan and its place in the region in the coming period. Is that it? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
What do you mean by the international community? That's such a vast concept.
I think primarily the Security Council, but then also, the donor community, all the big donors to Afghanistan. That's a big and ongoing discussion. Today, I think it was really important that 15 hands went up And that's a rare moment of unity on a really difficult and challenging set of circumstances. But 15 hands going up is something, it's a moment to recognize that there is consensus and there is the will to try and help the situation in Afghanistan. And, you know, to your point on the CSW, it was really haunting hearing the comments from women both on the ground and outside Afghanistan about the situation in their country. And I think, you know, that was an opportunity to hear from them directly. We had a number of interactions with women on the ground who said quite clearly that this is their country and they'd like to stay in their country. They don't want to leave their country, but they'd like to be able to achieve their rights and fulfill their full potential in that country, both in terms of education and work. So there's a lot of work to be done. At the end of my remarks today, I said that the work begins today, and I truly believe that the work does begin today, but it has begun with the strong show of unity from the Security Council to renew the mandate of UNAMA and also to call for this independent assessment to coalesce the international community around a strategy. And I think all good policy decisions will be based on good strategy. So I'm glad we've taken a moment to step back and commission that from the UN system.
And the possibility of the Security Council visiting Kabul and the rest of Afghanistan?
I think all options are always on the table for the Security Council. I think all options are always on the table for the Security Council. So we need to help move the dial forward, and that's the intent of the UAE and Japan as pen holders. Thank you.
One question on a different subject, if you don't mind. Is it possible just to ask you about Yemen? Because you had the Security Council meeting yesterday, you've had the important rapprochement between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Do you see a real chance soon of peace in Yemen?
We do see a chance soon of a stabilization of the situation in Yemen and hopefully a full implementation of a roadmap that would lead to a peace plan in Yemen. That's very much the UAE's position, and it supports the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, who has been leading in these important negotiations with all the parties, and it supports the Yemeni government and, of course, SRSG Hans Grunberg, who's been very mobilized behind the scenes in support of this effort. So I do think this is the best opportunity we've had in a long time for stabilization of the situation in Yemen, and the UAE is fully committed to seeing that materialized, and we will do all that we can to help that effort.
A Ramadan window for peace?
A Ramadan window for peace, inshallah, from your lips to God's ears, sir.